There have been more than one Scorpion blaster in Nerf's entire history, and I'm not just counting these 2-pack as each individual blasters. No, no, no. In fact, that one right up there, that one is a Scorpion too. So, this is like retro Nerf, but I'm getting way ahead of myself because I haven't even introduced this thing. This is the Venom pack from Nerf Wild. It is a subline within Nerf that is part of the Easy Play. And essentially what that means is they took the Nerf Junior stuff and made it cooler with all of this wild animal stuff. So you might see things like lions and sharks, and now we have scorpions. And I know a lot of people got sent this in the mail. I didn't. I picked this up because they just look cool, and also I have the retro version of a Scorpion blaster. I wanted to see how a 2024 version fared. So what do you say? Let's take a look at the Venom pack, see what Nerf Wild is all about, and if the Easy Play stuff that they've learned from Nerf Junior carries on and has some really great ideas. Now, before we totally throw away this box, I wanted to go over a few things with it. So on the back, we got this really cool product shot where it puts these scorpions in the sand. There is a cactus, like you get a sense of a desert feel where scorpions would live. So it's really nice to see that theming carried through. We haven't seen very strong theming in Nerf for a while. I think the last really strong theme that we had was the Nerf Zombie Strike stuff. There was a whole story, there were YouTube videos to give little glimpses into what that world looks like. I think with this Nerf Wild stuff, I wouldn't say it's like a renewed focus on storytelling, but at least it's like thematic. And I really love the designs on the side where you can see the scorpions. Like there should have been more of this on there. I would have loved to have seen more of these scorpions on the box. I get that you want to feature your product prominently, but those are some really cool drawings of the scorpions. And I wonder what their names would be. So if you have any ideas what the red and blue scorpions names would be, please leave it in the comment section. I think that would be a really fun thing if we just can name these guys from the Venom pack here. So we have the two scorpions out of the box. They are identical. They are absolutely identical. There is no difference here other than the color. They work the same, they operate the same. So I think because I like the color blue better, I'm just gonna be talking about this blue one, but it also applies to the red one. So right out of the gate, this is a very simple blaster. It is a 2-barrel Smart AR system. You load the traditional Nerf Elite style darts in this thing. You pull back on the priming handle, it auto returns, which is one of our first Easy Play features. Having fewer operations to make the blaster work makes it easier to use, hence Easy Play. Of course, like every other Nerf blaster in the history of, well, I guess most, not all, you have to squeeze the trigger to make it work. But like Nerf Junior, we have our second Easy Play feature, and that is a 2-finger trigger that just makes it easier to fire these blasters so that you don't have to have all of your grip strength in your index finger. And as you saw, they go easy on the power. This isn't going to be stuff at the upper limits of what Elite style darts can do. This is going to be dialed back a little bit so that younger players can get in a game of Nerf and not have to worry too much about if it hurts or not. Of course, we know that Nerf darts, especially the Elite style darts, don't have much impact with them, but a lot of it is just the fear of. Without knowing how these things work, again, gearing these towards a younger crowd is going to be a much better option, especially right out of the box, gearing people up for Nerf stuff as they age up. We have one more dart in this thing. Let's fire it off, and there we go. You notice there's just a little bit of a drop in performance as we go down the barrels, but since we only have 2, that's it. That's it. Now this gray dart holder holds up to 4 darts. And let's see how well these retain the darts. They don't have like a huge grip on them, but let's see. One fell out. I think that has more to do with the dart than anything. Let's see if I put a different dart in there, if that works. Let's see. Yeah, it has everything to do with the dart, not necessarily the dart holder, which is something that we know foam darts aren't always consistent. So that's why we see differences in performance between each dart, between each round, because they degrade over time. But here we go, let's just fire these off. And that's it. This is such a very simple blaster. And I know I said I was just gonna talk about the blue one, but I'm gonna grab the red one because there is an option to dual wield these. And you might think that you have to like pull these blasters at an awkward angle to prime them, but I'm gonna tell you that there's a better way, a different way. You can use the tail of the scorpion to prime these things and dual wield them very effectively. In fact, let's try that. I've got some darts right here. I'm gonna put a dart here, I'm gonna put a dart in the red one, and then we're gonna see just how dual wielding scorpions goes. So there we go, and I kinda like these a lot. They're just fun, it's a fun time. I think a lot of that has to do with just the silly shell design of this. If this were just your typical Jolt looking thing with an extra barrel, I don't think it would be nearly as fun. I think the scorpions on this add a dimension of fun, add a dimension of gimmick. But knowing that this is all hard plastic, you can use this to prime the blasters, and making use of the easy play features, the auto returning prime, the easy squeeze to fire. You're just gonna have a good time with these. You can pick them up, you can play with them with literally anybody, and you're going to be able to share a Nerf game. Whereas if we're looking at the high end of things, right, if we're looking at Nerf Pro, if we're looking outside of Nerf, once you hit a level, people get a little more afraid because the darts are just flying that much faster. And it might not seem that much to older people, but when we're dealing with the kids that these things are geared for, doubling the speed of darts can often be a very scary thing. The Venom pack, these two Scorpion blasters, have a lot of qualities that I look for in Nerf blasters. Fun, it's got a good gimmick, it's colorful, it's clearly a silly blaster. And to me, that's what makes Nerf blasters more of a toy. We have seen a massive shift when it comes to performance-based blasters and how that changes the form factor of the blasters that go along with it. More focus on realism, more focus on adaptability, compatibility, using accessories from outside the foam dart blaster space. And then Nerf comes crashing in with something that looks like an ice blue Scorpion. It just kind of upends that game. It's not gonna be competitive. It's not gonna be the most powerful thing you see on a foam dart battlefield, but that's not the point of these. The point of these is to have fun. The point of them is to jump over your couch and fire a couple darts across the living room. And if it hits a lamp or something like that, it's not gonna knock it over or break something because the darts just aren't going that fast. Count me in favor of the Nerf Wild line, which I liked the Nerf Junior stuff. And when Nerf Junior morphed into the easy play line of Nerf, I was very excited to see that they put just silly gimmicks on top of it. Shell designs that don't make any sense. Those are things that are fun, they're very toy-like, creates enough differentiation so that you're not confusing it for something more powerful, but it's also fun to look at too. I think this type of blaster works perfectly for easy play. You have something that's front-loading, you have some dart holders so that you can carry around a couple easy reloads, and it's one of those things that when you do run out of darts, you can just pick them up off the ground and start firing them across the room again. But let's take a look at Nerf's other Scorpion blaster, the Whiptail Scorpion, and you can kind of get an idea of just where they could push stuff like this in the future. Even though this blaster was made back in the 1990s, I think there are still some really great ideas that would be fun to adapt in a 2024, almost 2025 world, because they take this crazy concept of a Scorpion and just take it that much further, where when you squeeze the trigger, this part whips around and fires the dart, almost like a Scorpion that would whip its tail forward and then, you know, sting or do whatever Scorpions do. I don't. So it's things like that that make me think the Nerf Wild line could potentially be pushed a little further in the future if stuff like this takes off, which I hope it does, because we have more than enough blasters currently for the performance-based crowd. And it feels like some of the earlier stage Nerf blasters just got left behind a little bit. And I think that was just a function of people aging up and moving with the brand. And it made people looking to get in with Nerf or other foam dart blasters a little intimidated because things were moving faster. They were looking a little more aggressive, a little more mean. This, even though it is a Scorpion, which is kind of the definition of an aggressive and mean animal, it's silly, it's fun. And if we look at just some of the lineage here, where we have this Whiptail Scorpion from the 90s, and now we have the Venom pack, blue Scorpion, the red one too. We're retreading some ground, but in new, different ways. Here's some things that I don't like about the Venom pack, because there are some areas where I feel like things could have been done maybe just a little bit differently or improved just a tad more. The first one is the dart holder in the front. You saw some of the issues that I had with the darts falling out. And again, I think that's a dart issue, a dart consistency issue, not a dart holder issue. But there is an issue with the dart holders, is that I don't see them screwed into the blaster. This is just fit within the molding of the blaster, so it's molded around it. So because of that, this wiggles a lot, and I would worry over time if this just gets shoved in a bin or set down in a goofy way. these claws could open up and then this part would just fall out. When that happens, you're just gonna have a big gaping hole in your Scorpion Blaster. There is good rigidity with the tail. I think that is a solid feature. It's something that you can pick up, you can whip around. I don't know, like it feels good. Auto return prime here, it feels a little light. Because we aren't using such a heavy spring load, it's going to be okay, but there is just a little more play, a little more give here than I would be hoping to see. And here's just a preference thing, but the handle, kind of like a T-pole, it's almost like a sickle, not quite a full T. I wish they would have done what the Nerf Ward did from the N-Series line and just have it be an oversized ring that you just pull. I feel like that's a much better operation for a blaster. I mean, this works, and again, the spring loads are smaller, but it just feels the most wiggly on this whole blaster. And the last thing that I would have liked to have seen, now this probably would have driven up the cost of the blaster, is to have a little more variation in the color. I love the predominantly blue and red theme between these. It gives you a clear sense of who's on what side. But having just another area that isn't orange or the main color would have been great. We are using this gray, having that be incorporated maybe on some of the legs, the claws, something like that would have broken up the blaster just a little bit more and made it visually pop. And the visual pop is really a compliment because what the design on this blaster looks like, especially up close, is really cool. There's a lot of depth, there's a lot of nooks, crannies, peaks and valleys. This is not a boring blaster to look at. This isn't just like an oversized jolt. I mean, even though it is in terms of like the operation of it, but just looking at it visually, it is a much more interesting and unique blaster in the whole Nerf, like in all of Nerf. There's been a lot of cool things. So overall, if you're looking to get into Nerf and you're wondering, where do I start? I think here is a good spot, because not only do you get one blaster that's fun to use, you get two blasters. You can toss it to a friend, toss it to a family member, and you can have a Nerf battle in a box with blasters that have adequate power to just have fun. But let me know what you think. Do you like how they changed the concept of Nerf Junior and morphed it into this easy play line where we have fun things like Nerf Wild going for it? I think there's definitely a seat at the foam dart blaster table for stuff like this, and I welcome it with open arms. But maybe there isn't, so you gotta let me know in the comment section. And if you like blasters with good gimmicks, or if you like performance-based blasters, blasters based on props, action figures, collectibles, pop culture-y things, you definitely need to hit subscribe, follow, like, whatever it takes to get more videos, because I think you're gonna like what I have coming up, and the videos are not stopping. Thank you so much for watching. Me and these Scorpions, we'll see you later.